Elena used to find peace in the sound of waves. She grew up in a small coastal town, where every sunrise painted her dreams in gentle light. But now the waves felt distant, muted. She was 28 and drowning in grief. A year ago, her mother, her anchor, was gone, just like that. And suddenly, Elena became everything. Sister, caretaker, breadwinner. She took on 2 low-paying jobs to keep the lights on and food on the table for her younger brother, Sam. But the bills didn't stop, and neither did the silence. Sam, once full of laughter and color, had stopped drawing. His sketchbook sat untouched, page after page empty. Elena tried to be strong, to smile for him, but every night the weight grew heavier. Until one rainy evening, she couldn't carry it anymore. She climbed the cliffs above the sea, the wind tugging at her coat, the storm echoing her chaos inside. And with a voice barely louder than a whisper, she said, "I can't do this anymore." She didn't jump. Instead, a light flickered below, a fishing boat, steady in the storm. It was small, ordinary, but it stayed afloat. Even when the sky turned black, something inside her shifted. Not everything had to be perfect. It just had to stay afloat. Elena turned back toward home. There were still bills, still silence, but also still hope. The next morning, something unexpected awaited Elena. On the doorstep, resting gently beside the welcome mat, was a small, weathered lantern. Its glass was cracked, the metal rusted, but inside, a candle flickered, faintly, as if refusing to go out. Tucked beneath it was a note, simple, mysterious, just 4 words: "Keep the light burning." No signature, no explanation, just that message. Elena stood frozen for a moment, the morning chill brushing past her. Then, carefully, she brought the lantern inside and set it down on the kitchen table. Sam, quiet as always, noticed it. He sat down, eyes locked on the glow, his fingers slowly tracing the cracked glass. He didn't say a word, but that evening, he drew again. A single sketch, a lighthouse, its beam cutting through a storm, its base solid against crashing waves. Elena's breath caught. It was the first time he had picked up a pencil since their mother passed. For the first time in months, something stirred in her heart. A flicker, possibility. Over the next few days, more small things began to happen. A bag of groceries left anonymously on their porch. A kind neighbor pretending not to know who left it. A coworker quietly offering to cover her shift, so she could rest just once. Each act felt like a match being struck in the dark. A spark, a reminder that they weren't entirely alone. But Elena still wasn't sure. Could kindness last? Could she? Every day she tried to smile for Sam, to laugh when he showed her his sketches, to act strong even when her knees shook. But doubt lingered, not just in the shadows of the room, but inside her. Then one night, the storm returned, not in her heart, but outside. A sudden blackout swept the town. The apartment was swallowed in darkness. Elena groped for her phone, but it was dead. The silence was heavy, until she heard the soft strike of a match. Sam. He had lit the lantern, and in its fragile glow, his newest sketch came into view. Another lighthouse, bigger this time, stronger, and standing tall against a wave far larger than before. In that moment, Elena didn't just see the drawing, she saw the message. The light wasn't just in the lantern. It was in Sam's hands, in their neighbors, in the quiet moments when someone chose to care. But still, a question pulsed in her chest. What if her strength gave out? What if she wasn't enough to keep the light burning for both of them? What if she couldn't be the lighthouse that Sam thought she was? The lantern flickered again, its glow steady despite the wind outside. And somewhere deep down, Elena realized something. Maybe she didn't have to be unbreakable. Maybe it was enough to just keep the light burning. The lantern never left their table. It stayed lit every night, its glow quiet but constant, a reminder of the night the darkness didn't win. Inspired by that tiny flame, Elena decided it was time to stop surviving and start reaching out. She started small, a notice on the community board, a message in the local Facebook group. If you're struggling, you're not alone. Let's meet, let's talk, let's help. She called it the Lighthouse Circle. The first meeting was held in the library basement. 6 people showed up, some curious, some cautious, some barely able to speak through their grief. But one by one, they began to share stories of loss, of small victories, of nights where they almost gave up, and the moments that kept them going. And there, sitting quietly beside her, was Sam. His sketchbook was open. The walls behind them were lined with his drawings, not just of lighthouses now, but of different heartwarming pictures. Each picture was brighter than the last. And in that light, Elena saw something else. Not just healing, but connection. Her little act, just keeping the flame alive, had become a spark for something far bigger. Weeks turned to months. The group grew. Groceries were shared. Childcare was offered. Phone calls were made on hard days. And slowly, the town didn't feel so cold anymore. Years passed. Sam, now a teenager, stood at the front of the community center. A circle of young kids sat around him, each holding crayons and pencils, eyes wide as he showed them how to shade a lighthouse beam just right. He was teaching art now, helping other kids tell their own stories, just like his sister had helped him find his again. And Elena, she kept showing up, not because she had all the answers, but because she knew how important it was just to be there. Then one evening, Elena walked back to the cliffs. The same spot, the same wind, but a different woman. In her hands, the lantern still glowed. Its glass still cracked. Its light still steady. The sea was calm now, not because the waves had stopped, but because she had learned how to sail through them. She looked out at the horizon, soft dusk falling over the water, and she whispered to the wind, the same way she had years ago. We made it through. The storms hadn't disappeared, but she had changed. She had become the lighthouse, and through her light, others found their way too. Marcus stood at the edge of the old wooden bridge, the same one that had watched him grow up, laugh, dream, and break. He was a musician once, the kind who made guitars sing, his fingers dancing across strings like they were meant to be there. But all of that ended 10 years ago. A rainy night, a winding road, a single moment. The car crashed. His best friend, Jason, didn't make it, and Marcus. He walked away with a permanent tremor in his hand, and a silence that settled deep in his chest. He never played again. He packed away the guitar. He packed away the music. Instead, he clocked in at the factory every day. 8 hours of hums, bolts, and conveyor belts. No melody, no rhythm, just noise. The bridge, he never crossed it again. Not since that night. It was once their secret stage, where they imagined packed crowds and bright lights. Now, it just felt like a wound that wouldn't heal. The sun was melting into the horizon, casting amber light across the planks. The air was still, but inside him, a storm churned. Marcus gripped the railing with his good hand, the tremor in the other more pronounced. He stared out, eyes heavy with years, and in the quiet he whispered, "I'm not enough anymore." The words drifted into the wind, as if hoping someone, anyone, might answer. But there was only the creak of the bridge, and the sound of a man still searching for his own forgiveness. The next morning, Marcus stepped onto his porch and found something strange resting beside the welcome mat. A small, hand-carved wooden bird, its wings steady and ready to take off, and one word was etched into the grain: fly. Tucked beneath the bird was a folded piece of paper. Just 5 words: "The song isn't over." There was no name, no sender, Just that quiet message. Strange, simple, haunting. Marcus stared at the bird for a long time before setting it on his windowsill. Felt like a challenge, or a sign. Later that day at work, a young coworker named Drew casually mentioned a local open mic night. "You should check it out," he said. "They even let people just hum if they're shy." He laughed, not knowing the irony. Marcus offered only a polite smile, declining as he always did. But something about the invitation lingered, like the echo of a song half remembered. That evening, drawn by something he couldn't quite name, Marcus walked to the bridge. The same bridge he had avoided for nearly 10 years. Each step over the creaking would stirred something in him. The scent of the river, the rustle of wind in the trees, the distant hum of passing cars, and then memories, laughter, chords played beneath the stars. The sound of his friend's voice saying, "We'll make it one day." Marcus clenched the railing. He almost turned back, but the image of the bird came to mind. Fly! A few nights later, he went to the open mic, not to perform, just to sit in the back and listen. He watched strangers pour themselves into songs and poetry, trembling hands holding microphones with more courage than confidence. It stirred something deep inside him. That night, at home, he picked up his old guitar. The tremor in his hand hadn't gone away. It was there, constant and unforgiving. But his fingers found a few chords, and from somewhere buried, a melody surfaced. He hummed, just a simple tune, but it was the first sound of music he'd allowed himself in years. The bridge became his ritual. Each evening, he crossed it slowly, letting the memories come. Some painful, some sweet, some so heavy they made him stop and breathe. And yet, he kept walking, because each crossing, each step forward, felt like stitching together the parts of himself he thought had been lost forever. Still, doubt shadowed every note he played, every time he saw his hand shake. Could he really stand in front of others again? Could he be music again? The bird on the windowsill seemed to watch him every day, a silent companion. Its message stayed with him. Fly! Marcus didn't tell anyone at first. He just began writing. Not with the guitar, his fingers still trembled too much, but with his voice. Late at night, while the world slept, he'd hum melodies under his breath, scribbling lyrics onto napkins, receipts, the back of old envelopes. The words poured out like rain, unfiltered, songs of guilt, of friendship, of the bridge that had once broken him, and was now carrying him forward. The day of the open mic came again. This time, he didn't stay in the back. He stepped up. The wooden bird was in his pocket, its wings worn smooth from his fingers. The room hushed as he stood at the mic, the spotlight catching the nervous glint in his eyes. He took a shaky breath. His voice cracked on the first note, but he didn't stop. He kept going. He sang, not perfectly, not even loudly, but honestly. He sang about silence and second chances, about the echo of a friend's laughter on a bridge at dusk, about pain, about healing, about flying. And when the final line left his lips, the room was silent again. Not with discomfort, but reverence. Then applause. Slow at first, then steady. No one cared about the tremor in his hand. They felt the music in his heart. Word spread so fast. People began asking him to perform again. But instead of chasing stages, Marcus found himself drawn somewhere else. He began teaching music at the local community center. Not just chords and notes, but courage. He shared his story with teens who thought their voices didn't matter, or that their pasts were too heavy to sing through. One student, a shy boy with a stutter, gave him a drawing. A small wooden bird with wings outstretched. Marcus smiled. He understood now. The bridge, once a place he avoided, became his sanctuary. Each crossing reminded him of where he had been and how far he'd come. Years passed. One morning, under the same fading sunrise where his journey had begun, Marcus stood once more on the bridge. The carved bird rested in his palm, worn, but still whole. He looked out across the quiet water, the sky painted in soft oranges and blues, and whispered, "The song goes on, Marcus's life wasn't perfect. It never would be, but it was his again. And that was enough.